we just go by name. We could just do a real quick round about name. Where are you from originally, or your parents, if you're from the state? And one place in Israel that you connect to. You can do it holistically, or just, I don't know, your grandfather was there or something.
Yeah.
Okay, so.
Yeah, my name is Ross.
Ross.
My family's originally from Germany. And I'm not Jewish. I have not been to Israel. So
No,
I'm
you
learning.
need to step out.
Tell me to leave. I'm taking this with me if I have to.
Don't come before Passover.
Yeah. Thank you. Good.
I'm Flavia. I'm from Brazil, but my family is from Hungary, Israel, and then Germany. I have a connection with Akko, which is where my grandmother.
Okay.
איפה אתה?
אני רום, אני ישראל.
תורי.
Where are you from
Is it-
and what's your
You need to
city?
say one city
Do it
you
in
like.
English, so everybody's.
One city you like in Israel.
Oh, Israel, Tel Aviv.
Yes.
I'm Yob and I'm gonna leave where I'm from question to these two people, and my favorite place in Israel is Metzada.
Oh.
Wow.
Mariel, Tel Aviv.
No, but your grandparents are from a very interesting place.
My parents.
Your parents.
My parents and their mom from Uzbekistan.
Uzbekistan.
Yeah.
Nice.
Tashkent. Like her mom from Tashkent. My parents from a village next to Samarkand. And we know a couple of languages. We speak like many languages.
Wow. Like Russian, right?
Russian, yeah. Anybody else speak Russian?
Yes, big
Somewhere.
I can sound it out.
Russian.
I think we need to add what languages everybody
And
speaks.
good food, right? In general. Rice, right? And spices.
Amazing food.
We just started staying a year in Tehran, you know.
Iran.
Is it
Yeah.
like Iran? Is it, or it's totally?
Yeah, it's very, very similar.
Really?
The language is the same.
So they have a border in Tashkent, north of Iran, or no?
Tashkent, it's in Asia. It's close to Afghanistan, but we know Persian because after the second temple was destroyed, the Jewish was taken to Babylon, and they stayed over there. And some of the Jewish along the history went to the city of Bukhara, but they remain with the same language from Persia.
Yeah.
So a lot of things are similar.
Because all of that was Persia at the time.
Yeah,
All of it.
How do we add Gush?
exactly.
So all of this because you don't want to say Parsi?
No, I'm not trying to say that.
Speaking of Parsi.
Well, as you can tell, there's a Persian here. He's like, what's your connection to Persia?
My favorite place in Israel is Tel Aviv.
Okay, I'm Victor. I was born in, now it's a country called Belarus. And I was living there in the Soviet Union. And I'm also Israeli, so Jerusalem is my place.
So I'm your typical Ashkenazi Jew, born in Israel, but what is unusual about me is that my grandmother was born in Israel. In 1927, she was born in Israel. And the reason she was born is because of her grandparents. Her grandfather anticipated some, Armageddon coming to Europe. So around the turn of the century, he decided to take his family of 8 kids and move to Israel.
Tzfat.
Wow.
And they moved to Tzfat. My place in Israel, actually, even though I was born in Tel Aviv, I do love Tel Aviv, I'm going to say Haifa, which is where your parents live, and where my grandmother, the same Saba grandmother, people of my generation, it's unusual to have a grandmother who's a Saba. It's unusual. So that was her city. I'm going to say Haifa, and specifically Chofa Sheket.
Okay.
I'm Jonathan. I'm a Litva. I met my three of my grandparents were Litvakim. Nowadays, my favorite place in Israel is Zichron Yaakov.
Sorry, is where?
Zichron Yaakov.
שמעת זה בגלל.
My parents came from France. And my favorite place is Beit
Wow. Nice.
I'm Mika from Herzliya, and actually my grandparents are also Israelis. They came the first immigration to Israel. They started Herzliya. They were among the first seven. שבעת הכוכבים, first seven.
זה כן.
שבעת הכוכבים זה השם שבעה שהקימו בהרצליה.
וואלה.
The first thing they built was a mall.
Anyway, I'm connected to Israel. It's a beach town in Israel, and it's
It's a very great city.
and I miss that.
So I'm Orit. I'm Canadian, Israeli American. I have multiple nationality disorder, as many of you in this room do, so I feel at home. I was born in Montreal, but I have a few special places in Israel. But one, I'll just say Herzliya also because our daughter lives there. So that's one spot.
My name is Chagai, and my connection to Israel is in a corner of two streets called Shawarma Shauli. And I'm vegetarian, but I still like shawarma.
And your parents came from?
They came from Argentina, so basically I'm a gaucho.
Hi, everyone. My name is Anat. I have two citizenships. I'm German and Israeli. I was born in Tel Aviv. I grew up in Herzliya and in Essen, in Germany, and in Toronto, Canada. So I always say I'm German, Israeli, with a bit of Canada sprinkled on top. And my favorite place is Tel Aviv.
Moshe was born in Tehran series. By the way, I have one of my cousins was in the first two seasons.
Really?
Yeah.
Who is it?
I don't know the character name, but Esti Yerushalmi. That rings a bell. Yeah.
He's one of the cast members in Israel, or one of the cast members in Greece.
I'm not sure the in Tehran.
I think
the mother of.
I think Tehran is Greece, really, because they couldn't shoot.
Yeah. Of course not. Right. But anyway, my parents from Iran as well. Favorite place is Netanya. I lived on the beach for a year, so I miss it.
Alright, I'm Gil. Grew up in Israel, in Haifa. Yeah, mostly I like near the
Where are
beach.
your parents from? Where are your parents from?
Parents from Romania, so they immigrated to
He's the first generation too.
Yeah. And yeah, I like, so I love Haifa, it's a great city, and the Bet Herut where we stayed for 2 years.
Okay, so literally all over the world, and we're all
Introduce yourself too.
and we're all Jewish from all over the world. Before I'm going to introduce me and my wife, Hanukkah is something that, if you remember your Hanukkiah from your parents' Hanukkiah, wherever you are, they all had two things. First of all, everyone had the 9 candles, and each one of them had another symbol around. Like, I know, Russian would have the onion and the lions, right? Persian, I don't know, maybe from not from everything would have something from their nationality, but everyone would have the same story, which means Hanukkah is one of the only holidays that's really all over the world for 2,000 years, which carries the same story, which is actually continues till today as we spin the dreidel. So before we're going to speak about the story of Hanukkah and how this has to do till today, literally here today in Washington, Greater Washington. So my wife is Neely. She is her mother's side is from Polish. Her one grandmother is from she's actually from Poland. She's a refugee, Nicola Shoah, and her grandfather's side is he's a few generations in Jerusalem, Samichtetim, the original Sfaradim Teorim from Jerusalem. My dad's from he was born and raised in Denver, Colorado. His grandfather was Jerusalem. A few generations Jerusalem, which came with a grant in 1700 from Lithuania, and my mom's side is Tunisian. We came here 3 months ago because my wife's working in the embassy. Why am I telling you this? Because whatever I'm going to say tonight is my personal experience, my personal point of view. It has nothing to do with official point of view of the embassy. So we're married, but she has her job, whatever she does, and I do what I speak. That's one. Two, we came 3 months ago in Israel. I was a tour guide and police officer. Till literally 2-3 months ago in the city of Ramle, which is Israeli Harlem or something like that. And one more thing. Okay, so a story of Hanukkah and how does this connect to us over here. Again, 5 minutes before. I'm a tour guide. I can speak and over. We have the candle is still too. The candles are burning. Till the last light turns on. So the story of Hanukkah begins long time ago in a far away country in Israel in 167 BC. The empire that rules the land is the Greeks. The Greeks are ruling the whole region, and we're not going to go into all the details of the politics inside. Basically, they wanted to make the Jews non-Jew anymore, and they wanted to make them Hellenist, which is like the modern, stop being Jewish, start being very modern, start worshipping your body and do Olympics and go naked and do all those the sports, and don't do 3 things. Basically, they're forbidding them to do 3 things, which is forbidding them doing many things that makes them Jewish, but the basics are 3 things. Or you cannot keep Shabbat. You cannot do Brit Milah, the circumcision, and you cannot learn Torah. After they made those 3 zerot, how? Decrees. Okay, so they went into the temple. They conquered Jerusalem, took over the temple, and made the temple impurified. They put a pig inside the temple, an idol, which means you cannot worship God anymore in the temple. And the temple is one of the core things in Judaism. All what happened in Jerusalem, it comes to the years of the Hashmonaim family in the Shfela city of Modi'in, where I grew up in Nivå Modi'in, a Karlbach Moshe. Ever heard of Mishlam Karlbach? So he had, that's the last thing I forgot to mention. I'm from Nivå Modi'in, a hippie Karlbach Moshe. I grew up hippie. A few months before I came here, was a rainbow gathering. Anyone knows what the rainbow gathering is?
What gathering?
Rainbow gathering?
Yes.
Oh, yes? Basically, know how people sit around the fireplace and sing Kumbaya? Mm-hmm. That. It's literally that was what I was doing a few months before I came here. It's an international thing.
We could do that.
Good. And down in the Golan Heights, it was in Israel, it was right after Pesach. It was April. So we sit around with the guitar and violin around the fire singing Kumbaya and see the F-16 going to bomb Syria. Peace and love. Why am I saying that? Because what I'm going to say at the end. So really peaceful environment. So this is the city of Modi'in area. This is the place of Jerusalem. This is the same place, the story of the Hashmonaim. They hear about what happened in Jerusalem. The Matityahu, the father Matthew, the father and his 5 kids. The most known one is Yehuda Maccabi from the name of Hammer, Makkevit. He was he used to work with hammer. Maybe he was working as a locksmith or not locksmith. Working with blacksmith. Sorry, so many locksmiths here.
Back in the days, we were at locksmiths. No. It's an ancient
and now today
occupation.
That's Troy. How to preach a door.
Jewish vocation handed down.
So they hear about happening in Jerusalem and said, no way, we cannot be Yavnim. So there's a whole story about how they're fighting the culture. Basically, what the story that we still say till today, that they started a rebellion and they're fighting the Greeks. A little few Falangot terrorists from Modi'in fighting the great Greek empire. So they're fighting them and they actually succeed because they know the land very, very well. It's a whole. I'm not gonna go to the whole story of how the hills. All around between Modi'in and Jerusalem are all hills, like hills and valleys, and the Greeks are very used to fight like in phalanx. You cannot fight their way of war in the mountains, so the Jews took advantage of it and they won it. And they have got to the temple. They conquer Jerusalem after a while. They conquer Jerusalem and they take the temple. And when they take the temple, take over the temple, do three core things. First of all, they declare independent. We're independent. We're Jews, control the Jews. We are taking back the Torah culture. Second thing they do Chanukah HaMizbeach. Why do we need to do Chanukah HaMizbeach? Re-establishing the altar, because they needed to celebrate a holiday. What holiday we couldn't celebrate? Sukkot. And Sukkot is a whole ceremony of besides the Arbat HaMinim, it's a whole ceremony of altar and of sacrifices. And so they do, and how long is Sukkot? 7 days, and Shmini Atzeret. Okay, so they couldn't celebrate Sukkot like we couldn't really celebrate this year, Simchat Torah. Okay, so they re-celebrate Sukkot, they do 8 days. And the last thing they do is they want to light the menorah. To light the menorah, we need oil. And they're looking for oil, for pure oil. They're looking, they can't find after a long time, they're looking. They found one little can of oil, and it's still pure. They had the stamp of the holy priest, and they said, "Well, it's very small. It's not going to do anything. We need a lot of oil." But they said, "This is what we have."
להתראות לכולם, חג שמח.
חג שמח.
איפה ג'קט?
כן. תודה רבה על הסופניות. מדהימות. הבאתם חנוכייה?
לא.
So they take this oil and they light the menorah, which lasts for 8 days. When all that happened, what day? Kafei Bekislev, they parked in Jerusalem. Parked is Chanu in Hebrew. So the Chanu in Kafei, the 25th of the month of Kislev, okay, which is today, like tonight after sunset, we actually started Kafei Bekislev. This is one of the reasons Chanukah, they parked Chanu in Kislev, in Kafei, in the 25th, so Chanukah. This is one of the reasons Chanukah is Chanukah. This story, this is the Jewish calendar, where now it's December 24th, but today is Kislev 25.
Is Chanukah a modern word?
Yeah, it was used now.
No.
It was used by the Bible.
Yeah, because I was like, it was like with a car. Like, what did they park with the car?
So this is the story of Hanukkah, which has been told.
I was always told that it's Lachnoch to re-establish Chanukah HaMizbeach.
Hebrew, Ivrit Safaya Fire has so many meanings for the same word. Actually, Ariel, who just left, it's one of the names of the temple.
Really?
So, yeah, Ariel is one of the. Dvir and Ariel, many names. So Ariel is one of them. It's one of the nicknames for what?
No, but Hanukkah has different names because what he said.
No, Chanukah is reestablished or parking. There's it's many names for many reasons for many names.
As many names as Jews have a being.
No, it's just, yeah, exactly. Yeah. So that's the story of Hanukkah that we've been told for about 300 years in Israel. In these 300 years, few things happened. First of all, the Romans took over the land, and then they destroyed the temple. And basically, the Jews have stopped being independent in their own country. But they kept on telling the story till 135 AD. Guy wakes up, his name is Shimon Bar Kochva, and he says, wait a minute, we're not ruling ourselves. We have the Romans ruling us. They're making us they're taking us our liberty, our independence. And he said, if Yehuda Maccabi could have done it, why can't I? So he started a rebellion. He actually very succeeded in the beginning, but then the Romans said, hell no. So there's a huge massacre in Jewish, in Beitar especially. There's a story of what happened in Jerusalem, in Beitar, after the Bar Kokhba rebellion. And when the Romans take over, retake over, they kill the many rebels. They do two core things. First of all, they take Jerusalem, and they're destroying it from they're changing everything from how we used to look. Actually, till today, you can see the same. The ancient Jerusalem looks like the old city of Jerusalem still looks like a Roman city. And they take the name Jerusalem, and there's no more Jerusalem. They call it
Ilia Capitolina.
Ilia Capitolina. That's one. Second thing they do. Not only take the city Jerusalem, they take the land which was called Israel till then, and they call it
Israel or Judea?
It's Judea, yeah.
Judea, Israel. Okay, Judea, Israel, independence. So they call it Palestine. Why? They take the ancient from the Tanakh Philistines, and they take they said we no more Israel, no more It's going to be called Palestine. From then till
48.
Who was the first to declare Jerusalem Israel? Basically, I'm just going to jump 2,000 years. When I was 17, my dad was born and raised in Denver, Colorado. So we went to Tel Aviv embassy when I was 17, and my dad gave me a form to sign to become an American citizen. So I take the paper and American bureaucracy paper and fill. Where were you born? Jerusalem, Israel. I give it to my dad. And he's like, yeah, try again. Like, why? What happened? There's no such thing as Jerusalem, Israel. Jerusalem was in the partition plan. Is an ex-territory of the United States, of the United Nations. There's no such thing. That's why the embassy was all the embassies were in Tel Aviv until Donald Trump. No politics until 2017. He moved the land. Basically declared officially. If you know the details, it wasn't exactly this. He moved the embassy, and then a few months later, it was officially moved as Israel, Jerusalem, Israel. Since Bar Kokhba, 135 AD till 7 years ago.
So now they changed it? I didn't know they changed it.
Yeah.
The US, my kids were born
the UN. It doesn't matter what the UN says. No, slowly so. Another state, another country moved the embassy over there, and they declare that Jerusalem is the capital of Israel. Going back to 130.
So even though when Ben-Gurion declared Israel independent in 1948, didn't he at the same time declare that Jerusalem is the capital? I mean, at the time.
But they didn't recognize
But
it.
they didn't recognize Jerusalem, so it's a part of Israel, right?
There's declaring and there's an actual doing like by paper. So in 1980 was when the official Jerusalem officially became the capital of the Israel state.
Israel made it official?
Yeah, they went to the parliament. Hey, we need to actually make Jerusalem as a capital. Wait, what?
You have to pass
vote.
it.
Yes, okay. Like a tikva was only 2004. Chok HaLeom. People were singing it in wherever, whenever. So yeah, we just need to make it like you can live together and have kids and whatever, but you're not signed in the Rabbanut, so you're not basically married.
So you were born in Jerusalem in what country?
Jerusalem.
No country, just in the city of Jerusalem.
No, it's in Israel. It's okay, but the Americans do not recognize
used to now they
Jerusalem as a capital.
So that was the story till 135.
I said they do recognize, but they would not write it in the passport.
Yeah, there's a difference between what people believe and what bureaucracy says. Okay.
The State Department.
No, in
the State Department.
In Israel officials, it is the capital of Israel.
Yeah. Since 1980.
There was no
since David HaMelech, of course, but official by law, Chok Yerushalayim Birat Israel, 1980.
Yeah.
Let me see my son's passport. I want to verify.
By the way, speaking of Palestine, every Jew or anyone else who was living in Israel before 1948, before May 14, 1948, was called a Palestinian because we were living under the British mandate of Palestine. So, Urieli?
One of my friends always says that. I don't know how to say it.
That's true. So back to 135 AD, okay? That till then, that was a story that we spoke about. We started about Hanukkah, and then we said, you know, after what happened in Bar Kokhba, we're no longer speaking about the story of Hanukkah. We do not speak about Hanukkah at all. That's why when they wrote the Mishnah, okay, around 280, Hanukkah is not mentioned at all.
But just to clarify, so it's because when the Romans squashed Bar Kokhba in 145 AD, they massacred so many Jews, they brought thousands to build the Colosseum. If you visit the Colosseum, that little pamphlet you get says it was built, I don't know the number, X thousand of Jews who were brought from Judea.
The rabbis did. The rabbis called them Kibbutz
Ziva, yeah. So they didn't want another. By the way, that's when most of the Jews went
Were scattered.
wherever you just guys said, okay?
Scattered by the Romans.
But still took the story of Hanukkah with them. Wherever they went, that's the story of Hanukkah. And they took the symbol of the menorah, which later on will gonna come the official symbol of the logo of Israel. So they didn't speak about Hanukkah at all. But when you don't speak about something so big that you spoke about so many times, for hundreds of years, then you're going to be all kinds of variation, and they say like this, they say this happened, and all kinds of conspiracies and theories. So they say, you know, we cannot let that happen. We need chocolate. Who thought about giving kids candy in synagogue? Like, what do you think is gonna happen? They're gonna be quiet, really? So they decided we need to speak about Hanukkah, but we need to take some part off. We can't really take something off. We can't erase history, especially when you have like physical archaeology parts of it. So they can so how do we cover something? We light differently. You know, when you use a light, flashlight here. So I have. Excuse this. I have two shoes, right? You can all see there's a lot of light here, but basically, now if I would have everyone sees this part, right? Even though I have two legs, when you put your projector, you projected one thing, that way you're not gonna see the other thing. So they said we're gonna project the story of the candles, of the oil, of finding the oil and the candles. We're gonna make chanukiot. The menorah has how many kanim? 7. And I don't know how much the Chanukhiya has. 8, and a shamash, but it's going to make it 9 because of the 8 days. And we're going to make it oil, and we're going to use ganiyot because it's oil. And
they distracted us. They distracted us, is what you're saying.
Yeah, they distracted. We're not going to speak the whole fighting story. We're going to move it to the candles and the oil. So we're not going to. No one's going to come up. Hey, let's go be another rebel and fight whoever's the emperor, and then we're going to kill us all. So. For thousands of years, that's the main story of Hanukkah that was basically when there was after Bar Kokhba, there was such a big exile. It was so great, so they had to make the Jewish religion. Judaism till then was connected to the Jewish tradition, the Jewish culture in the land of Israel. The 613 commandments in the mitzvot in the Torah. Third of them is the land, another third is the temple, and the last third is something you can just, respect your parents or keep Shabbat. You can do whatever you want. You can do it wherever you are. But when you take 2/3 of Judaism, you don't have the temple, you don't have the land, you gotta create a religion that will make a structure so you can pack up like, what's his name, Tibia. From the fiddle on the roof, it's like you can just, we're always ready to go. So you can always pack your menorah, your chanukhiya, or whatever else you have. Fill in this, you can just, wherever you are in the world, you can have that. But when you are over there, all over exile, what do you speak? Whenever there's a Jewish religious Jewish coming together, gathering, what do? What do you speak about?
You want to cook?
You know it. So, what? No, not what language. Whenever you meet weddings, tefillah, birkat hamazon. Matchmaker. Yeah, exactly. But besides that, there's something like that's gossip. Or when you open the book, what does it say? Something that repeats itself all the time. You open the tefillah.
Next year in Jerusalem.
Jerusalem, next to Jerusalem is in Pesach, yeah. But when you have a wedding, so it's a family coming together. You have a few blessings, but then עוד ישמע בערי יהודה בחוץ ירושלים, אם אשכחך ירושלים, משמח שוש תסיס ותגיע להכרה בקידוש בניה לתוכה בשמחה ברוך אתה רב, משמח ציון ובניה. Whatever you speak about is the what's it called? The ceremony itself, it speaks about Jerusalem. You open the tefillah, Jerusalem, Jerusalem, Jerusalem. You open whatever you speak is about Jerusalem. Basically, the whole thing is take Judaism on your backpack, leave the country, leave the temple where it is, take Judaism on your backpack, and speak about Jerusalem. So one day you'll be back in Jerusalem. And that's the menorah was the Chanukah was one of the core thing. I'm sure everyone has like their grandparents' Chanukah, right? That's a thing, a cup, a Kiddush cup, and a Chanukah. It's something that my great-great-grandfather from Iran or whatever, that's theirs. That's the symbol. It became such a big symbol. You have one from a great-great-grandfather from Iran? They're going to buy a new one, he's Persian.
It was made in France, I think. So, yeah.
Made in France?
Yeah. They still make it, the same exact thing. But I have one from when I was growing up from my grandfather.
So it's something that you carry with you, the Chanukah. All the way till the famous picture in the Holocaust, you see the window with the Chanukah and Ghetto Lodge, and in the background you see the big Nazi logo, flag. So that's basically one day we're going to come back to Jerusalem, but till then we're going to do this. We're going to focus on the candles because we're not independent in our land. The past 200 years, there's a guy called Herzl, which is named Herzliya after him, okay? And he said, okay, let's stop. Oh, nice. My dad has a picture here. So Herzliya, the city that she loves the most, okay, and your daughter, is that Herzliya?
My daughter's
I also named after Herzl.
You grew up in Herzliya too? That's right. Okay.
Herzl is, I'm not going to go into the story of how Jewish it is, it's not the story. Basically, the
His grandmother, she dated this guy.
So, he's so young, I don't know if he had time to date. Anyway, he's in Basel, he's hearing these stories about the Jews crying, go, next year in Jerusalem, next year in Jerusalem, next year in Jerusalem, next year in Jerusalem. He said, okay, can you stop crying and do something about it? So he's in Basel, in Switzerland, he basically declares and he says, in Basel I established the Jewish state, the state of the Jews.
In 1892 or
1897, the first Zionist. Basically, that's where the state is actually being conceived. And how did he call it? Tzionut. Why? Tzion. You want to come back to Jerusalem? So stop crying about it and start doing something. So they call it Tzionut. The Tzionim, we're coming back to the land. And they're basically saying we're so independent, we're going to trying to forget most of our Jewish exiled traditions. So they're building the land, and they were so independent. They take Yehuda Maccabi as their role model, but they take a lot of the Judaism itself, the religious, they release. Okay, they call them Chilunim today. So there are two more basic narratives: the religious one, which means the menorah, the Chanukah, and the Zionist, which there's two stories, Chanukah, and two narratives. One, the religious one that speaks about the candles and how many candles you should light, and also all kinds of regulations and discussion about the Chanukah. Theoretically, you shouldn't. There's a law saying you shouldn't. If you're not sleeping somewhere, if you're not sleeping in the house, you should only do the blessing where you sleep. It sounds funny and weird, but basically the same.
I'm sleeping here tonight then.
You can light a candle with that, which would sound a bit weird, but what's the reason?
Where are you taking off your shoes?
Remember how we said the Chanukah it's a symbol, because if you gotta do the blessing where you're sleeping, you gotta light a candle, which means you gotta go back home and do what? And do the most important commandment in the Torah, which is
Procreation?
The one who repeats itself several times.
Oh, the love yourself, like your name?
No, something that repeats itself several times. What's the most? It's several times it repeats itself. You should do it in the Torah. כי שלך בנך מחר לאמור מה לא, והגדת לבנך. Basically, the whole story is you gotta tell yourself. How do you know? Separated from all over the world, right? How do you know the story of Hanukkah?
From the previous generation.
Because your dad told you. Your dad went to a different corner of the world. Because your dad told me. How do you know? What do you mean? My mom told me. Of course it's true. So the story of Higadat el-Bicha, the story Pesach takes it to the extreme. You gotta ask the 4 questions because you gotta tell your son the story. So you gotta come back home and make the story so your son will see you. You're lighting candles in the windows. Like, what are you doing? Oh, remember the story of one day we're gonna be back from Jerusalem. So that's basically the 2 narratives, okay? Zionism, which means independent, and religious, which means all the regulation of the candles. But how does it connect to over here now? Everything's happened in Jerusalem, right? The Greeks took over Jerusalem. The Maccabees took over back Jerusalem. Even today, all our enemies, okay, they're fighting for. They call the war now in Gaza, which we call Iron Swords. They called it Tufun al-Aqsa. The rebels in Syria, right after they took over Damascus, what did they say? We were going to on our way to Jerusalem. Now, it's not today. Erdogan, they're all screaming. Erdogan in Turkey, everyone's screaming to them. Take us, whole president, take us to Jerusalem. Okay, so.
Which is crazy because I think Jerusalem is not even mentioned once in the Quran. Not even once.
Yeah, it's only one to. But I mean, it is, yeah.
It's not about.
Not by name, just not by name.
It's not about the Bible, it's about the tradition.
It's about the tradition. It's not about what's written in the book. It's about. Okay, it's not about how much Jerusalem is mentioned in Torah. The Tanakh more. Torah, not really. Maybe Shalem, Shalem, Shel Malki Tzedek, but in the 5 books of Moses.
Maybe because it predates it? No? Actually, no.
Actually, the first one to destroy it, I'm going to give you a little spoiler. Who's the first one to destroy Jerusalem and burn it?
Babylonians.
Yehuda. Shevet Yehuda, book of Yehoshua, chapter 2, verse 8, they say, I think.
Jews destroyed it first. Right?
They came with Yehoshua, they crossed the river, and hey, Jebusim is burning it down. It's mentioned over there. Wow, no one really speaks about that little phrase, but it's only then when King David came back and made it the capital because Avraham Avinu was there, and that's the whole story about Jerusalem. Basically, everything's around Jerusalem. That's one thing I came here to speak to. Not only specific here tonight, all around what I came here. When my wife works at the embassy, and everyone else, it's not only like anyone else. I'm trying to speak, not official diplomat, about Jerusalem. If everyone speaks about Jerusalem, besides the Jews, I just came from like an hour ago. We were in DC. There's a big Chabad lighting menorah lighting. Okay.
Oh yeah.
He's speaking about the hostages. We should bring the hostages, and we should take the light of bring more light to the world. And like, I'm asking if you're the Chabad Hasidim, what light? Like, what do you mean? The light of the Chanukiah. But why do we light the Chanukiah? Oh, because it says in the Gemara. But why is it said in the Gemara? Oh, what do you mean? You know the story of the Maccabees in the temple? Oh, because of the temple in Jerusalem. So how come we're speaking here and Jerusalem is not even mentioned? Is the word about Jerusalem? Jerusalem, is there a value to the land? Is there value to Jerusalem that it's worth speaking about? I'm not even speaking about now what we should do in the war, shouldn't. That's a whole politically, if you want after, for sure I would love to. But is Jerusalem worth speaking about? Because the enemy are speaking about it all the time. Not only now, if you grew up in Israel, after a terror attack, any funeral of a terrorist, fil dam, fil ruch, nifdat al-Aqsa, nifdat al-Aqsa, al-Aqsa, you know what, if you can take it to colleges, okay? They say from the river to the sea, Palestine, what is the Israeli answer?
From Hamas.
From Hamas. Bring them back home. Yosef Haddad is driving all over the world to have proof. He gives proof as an Arab Jew, as an Arab Christian in Israel, that Israel is not an apartheid. That's all you have to say? Like, you're only defending, what about, why are we here? Remember Tzionut, remember the camel? So there's something that's actually very moving all around Israel now, especially in the war. And it connects to Hanukkah. I'll finish it with that. This war, they called it Typhoon al-Aqsa, and people actually started speaking about Jerusalem. Of course, there is Kahana and Ben-Vir and guys in the hills and those who live in the old city speak about the temple in Jerusalem all the time. But now, these past year, people are actually more speaking about it and making more. It's not only about these things, what should be done, it's a topic. Many soldiers, I don't know, they have, whoever been in the Israeli army, used to be the old one they did, so now they have the new one with the patches. So this patch, they have it in black and green. This is the temple. It says Am Yisrael Chai. Many soldiers and policemen have that in uniform. That's mine from my policeman uniform. I wear it when I'm here when I do security in the synagogue in Bet Shalom. Basically, they say we're not sure what we want from Jerusalem, but we know Jerusalem is important for us enough to fight for. So this is something I would wish, whenever if you don't speak about what's happening in Israel, that's your thing, and it's great. I'm actually very, I hope I could be like detached so much. I can't have 4 brothers over there, and some of them are still in reserve. And it's on fire all the time. But if you do have any conversation about what's happening in Israel, so please, I'm actually begging you, don't just throw a phrase and oh, bring them back. That's people in Tel Aviv and Kaplan, which you're actually under fire when you're hostages and your family and friends are in captivity. You can't overthink. But over there, they're all looking to all the people in Israel, in Jerusalem. What do they do? First of all, they can't really speak about actually topics, like go down to the bottom of topics because they're always under fire. There's politics and everything around. Second of all, they're always looking up to Israelim. כולם באמריקה מסתכלים כולם בישראל. They always look at what the American will say. Right? We're not doing this because of Biden. We're not doing this because of this. Right? Okay, so we came to DC, and what is American? What is a Jewish American? What is the Israelis in DC say? I go into Montrose, which is amazing to see on Friday right before your Shabbat. You see the flag. Bring them back home. Yeah, that's what they say in Tel Aviv. That makes sense. What do you say here? That's all you gotta say? If you know a bit of past 10 years in Israel, we've been telling the same thing. When Gilad Shalit was kidnapped, and then he would go to Sangat Regev, V'shavu banim ligvulam. When the 3 boys were kidnapped, bring our hoes back, or bring back our boys. We always saying about press the rewind button. What else are we saying? Finish with Hanukkah. So speaking of the temple, so
Wait, can I ask you a question? What is your answer to that? Because I've been going to the bridge and I've been going to vigils and I've been going, so that's what we're saying. What would you like us to say here? What should we be saying? Not just bring them home, or send them, I don't know. You were asking us a question, but what is one answer?
First of all, have a discussion about what we should actually say. What do we want? Okay, that's one. 2, if you want to go into details,
Well, what would you like them to say on the bridge, let's say, for example? Or
What do you think is missing? What message is
I'll answer.
And it's not wrong. I will answer. It's not only the people who protest, the whole nation. Where are you going? What do you want? Okay, so mine. Okay, first I'm wearing this. Literally, this is what I'm wearing. Okay, I want. It's not only the temple. It's just I want the court, the Halabai, the Temple Mount. This is where it all starts. This all goes. Okay, if you take it over. Well, first of all, you can have a picture of the temple. You can say it's our from the river to the sea. We want from the river to the river. Israel, it's our land. It's Jewish land. It's given by God. It's been given because we won the war because we're stronger. This is our land. This is our country. This is. You want to go super extreme? We can do 2 super extreme. First of all, it's literally my brother and sister. Nuke everything. I'm not saying we should, I'm just saying this is one crazy thing. Other thing, I'm gonna come and take them to Potomac. Okay? We do not want the country. Let's just take them away and we're gonna move back. That's 2 extreme things. But it's something like who are you protesting for? You can you're speaking to the drivers. Israel flag is nice. But just bring them back. Who do you want to bring them back? I don't know.
The hostages, what do you mean?
Yeah, but who are you speaking to? When they do in Tel Aviv, it's right under Binyan HaKirya. You're speaking to the Command 13 over there of Herzl Levy.
Well, you're speaking to the American government and say the American government should put pressure on the Israeli government to focus on the hostages as a very. I'm just trying to define it. I'm not making a speech. I'm saying that when we go to the Red Cross and do things, what we are trying to say is that the American government should put pressure on the Israeli government to put the priority of the hostages higher than other things.
Why only in the Israeli government? Why not on Qatar?
Why not?
Wait.
Why not put pressure on Qatar?
I'm gonna answer this.
That's fine too. But I mean, if we need to define, why? Okay, so why are we at the Red Cross? Because we want to state a priority that in Israel there are different priorities, right? Bibi certainly has priorities of his own that are personal, and then there's the priorities of prosecuting the war effectively, and other things. But what we're trying to say is that before everything, the hostages have to be, if not the highest priority, then really near the top priority, because that's all we can do. And the second thing, frankly, is because after October 7th, we felt helpless here. There's nothing we could do. And so all we can do is march, is be together and stand together at the Red Cross.
First of all, I'm gonna finish with that. First of all, I'm super grateful that you care and you take the step forward. But coming back to Hanukkah,
okay,
what was the war? What are we celebrating? What are we showing the whole world? That we're independent.
Right. But this is exactly what.
But when you go to the empire to ask for help, if it's a story in Iran or whatever, in Yemen, I understand it's a whole world war. But it's something. Are we independent? Are we an independent country?
Right.
That can take care of our own people alone, or are we exile that we still under someone else's, or some empire is ruling us, which we don't do things on our own.
I think that is. I think that is.
No, good to have friends. It's one thing.
Only two options.
There are many. Basically, yes. No, am I independent or am I not independent? What I'm saying, I'm not saying what we should do to take over back to finish the war. That's something else.
Right? You're married.
Yes.
Like newlywed.
What?
I don't know what. Married 5 years.
6.
Yeah, newlyweds. Yeah. So, are you independent?
Are you talking about his relationship with his wife or his
But that's a choice. I guess you're saying it's always a choice, right?
Which the rest of us, we know. And he's still young, so maybe he doesn't.
To answer your question, we live in an interdependent world, and because of globalization and trade, we're no countries independent. So there's not a single country that produces the food that's required to sustain life, to sustain the population. Food, but no singular country has food security. So number one, Israel does not produce enough food for Israelis at any point in time. So number one, just for that, we're not independent, and we're also dependent on American weapons and American protection for our security. So we are not independent.
So both things come before hostages?
Both things come before what?
Before hostages?
I can't hear you.
Before hostages?
Hostages.
It helps with the hostages.
I'm not comfortable with this political discussion.
Yeah, let's not do it politically.
No, it's not. I'm not saying what it should be do, but what we should be done. What we should do to win the war. It's a different conversation and something else.
I don't think I should be
But I'm
talking
just,
today
we're just gonna finish with not politics. I'm just gonna finish with one thing, okay? With but going back to the story. Remember, I told you there's two narratives: the religion and the Zionists. So if you go back, we spoke about the Zionists that come and build building the country, and the religious one will always just take your Judaism in your backpack and keep on walking. But when you go back to when you go to the synagogue, okay, you open the prayer book, and 6 or 7 times a day, the religious ones, it's not only they're doing the menorah, they're going to go back and read the actual story of Hanukkah in the Midah and Birkat Hamazon. And say, even though if you're in Iran or Argentina, wherever in the world, gonna say, בימי מתתיהו בן יוחנן כהן גדול חשמונאי ובניי, כשעמדה מלכות יוון הרשעה עמך ישראל, basically speaking about the story in the land of Israel in Jerusalem, and then דנת דינן, נקט דגמתם, מסרת גיבורים ביד חלשים ורבים ביד מעטים, וטמאים ביד טהורים ורשעים ביד צדיקים, וזידים ביד עוסקי תורתך. So they're so religious, they're praying for it, the story that we're going to be back independent, we're going to fight for our own freedom. And only at the end, then the last sentence will say, והדליקו נרות בחצרות קודשך. So, well, we're speaking just to the kind of class in Israeli, in Israel, it's a very big dispute between the Zionists and the religious one, the Haradim and Tzionim. So basically you see it's the same story that combined. We're not that different, it's the same story that, it's not two different stories, it's one story that needs to go back to. I'm not asking you guys to make Aliyah, actually, that's the best, the most important place to be here and do Israel advocacy. Just remember the whole point of the end, the whole celebration is coming back, have an independent Jewish state in the land of Israel, and don't hide and if any other holiday is hiding Judaism, Hanukkah is a kundilabas, basically lighting the whole street. This year specific comes with Christmas, so we can't really, it's camouflage, but every other year you can actually see the menorah outside. That's for tonight. Thank you.
I have a coin here, and I can't remember if it's from the Hasmonia, from Hanukkah. It has the little vessel of oil, or maybe from Bar Kokhba, but it's an ancient coin. You'd like to see it. You can find it down here. Yeah.
Is this the one that your Sasa when she was
My parents got it for me.
Guys, we have some great ice creams that are not brought.
All the time.
Everyone, you haven't had enough sugar yet.
We also have all the fruits.
Thank you.
Thank you.